This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. The president is declaring victory over the impeachment process campaign style today. This afternoon at a televised celebratory event at the White House, he slammed Democrats, spoke of vindication, and looked to the 2020 campaign. Caitlin Burke is here now with more. Caitlin.
Heather, the president said he's been the victim of a Democrat-led witch hunt since he was elected in 2016.
We've been going through this now for over 3 years. It was evil, it was corrupt, it was dirty cops, it was leakers and liars, and this should never, ever happen to another president, ever.
Trump unloaded on Democrats, airing a list of grievances and calling House Speaker Nancy Pelosi a, quote, horrible person. But he also zeroed in on Senator Mitt Romney, the only Republican who voted to convict him on Wednesday. Romney cited his faith and dedication to his oath to do impartial justice.
And then you have some that used religion as a crutch. They never used it before. An article written today, never heard him use it before. But today, it's one of those things. But, it's a failed presidential candidate, so things can happen when you fail so badly running for president.
President Trump is now able to move towards the 2020 election free from the shadow of a major investigation, although he did bring up the possibility that Democrats will move to impeach him again. Trump is the first president to ever be impeached and run for re-election. Heather, back to you.
Thanks, Caitlin. And earlier today, the president took the stage at the National Prayer Breakfast. The Fellowship Foundation organized the 68th annual event to bring together political, religious, and business leaders for prayer. But less than 24 hours after his impeachment acquittal, the president wanted to talk politics. As he made his way to the podium, he held up copies of 2 newspapers with headlines that read acquitted. He also used his speech there to take shots at, quote, very dishonest and corrupt people.
They know what they are doing is wrong, but they put themselves far ahead of our great country. Weeks ago and again yesterday, courageous Republican politicians and leaders had the wisdom, fortitude, and strength to do what everyone knows was right. I don't like people who use their faith as justification for doing what they know is wrong. Nor do I like people who say, I pray for you, when they know that that's not so. So many people have been hurt, and we can't let that go on.
President Trump at the National Prayer Breakfast. Well, Democratic presidential hopefuls have their sights set on New Hampshire this week, with the primary coming up. After New Hampshire, the candidates are on to Nevada on Saturday the 22nd for that state's caucus, and then to South Carolina at the end of the month for its primary before Super Tuesday on March 3rd. We still don't have official results from the Iowa caucus, but with 97% of the precincts reporting, Pete Buttigieg and Senator Bernie Sanders are nearly tied, followed by Senator Elizabeth Warren. Former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Amy Klobuchar are trailing behind. For more on the race, we are joined by Dr. Timothy Sherritt, a political science professor at Gordon College in Massachusetts. Dr. Sherritt, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You are just over the border from New Hampshire in Wenham, Massachusetts. What is your take on how the primary contest is shaping up for next Tuesday?
Well, the candidates have certainly been busy. I've had students all through last semester going to various events in New Hampshire where most of them got to meet the candidate that they were following. And it does seem to me that the stumbles in Iowa have sort of temporarily taken the spotlight off New Hampshire. But by all accounts, things are really starting to heat up now. And it looks to me like it'll be a close race, I think, between Senator Sanders and probably Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
Has it been a different feeling for the New Hampshire primary this year because there wasn't that momentum coming out of Iowa?
Yeah, although of course, if you talk to people in New Hampshire, they like to stress their independence and their own ability to sort of think about the race themselves. But I do think in the last couple of days, the stumbles in counting the vote in Iowa have sort of really interrupted the idea of momentum. Perhaps for Mayor Pete, they've helped a bit because, as you just said, now it's 97% of the vote from the caucus has been counted. Actually, he and Sanders are tied pretty much. But the story from the media, based on the partial results, had him in the lead. And I think that's given him a little bit of momentum.
Really interesting to follow his campaign. And he, of course, has campaigned as a person of faith. Do you think that his talk about faith will help him compete against the other Democratic candidates, perhaps with voters of faith?
I think it might, but not in the sense of a direct competition with them, making any kind of comparison contrast with them on the basis of faith. I think what he's attempting to do as an Episcopalian himself, raised Catholic, to not so much to pry, if you like, hardcore Trump voters away from the president, but those people of faith who are looking for a place to park themselves, so to speak, in the contest, who are not particularly wedded to one side or the other.
Well, it's really interesting because there doesn't seem to be a lot of talk about faith among some of the other candidates. I want to ask you, too, now that the impeachment trial is over, do you think it will be much of an issue on the campaign trail in the coming weeks, or what do you see as the issues that the candidates will focus on? I
sense that the candidates don't really have all that much that they can exploit, if you like, from the impeachment one way or another. And I think the cues they're taking seem to be from voters that even in the run-up to the trial, voters were not telling them in Iowa, for example, that this was the issue that they were tuning in and paying attention to. They were much more concerned with other things. And I think the candidates will follow that through the rest of the race. I don't think the impeachment will linger long. Now, that might be a different matter when we get to the general election, but I don't see it becoming a major primary issue from here going forward.
All right. Well, fascinating race. Dr. Timothy Sherritt at Gordon College, thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.
And for more political news and analysis, be sure to catch Faith Nation this evening. You can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Well, in other news, the Chinese doctor who first warned officials about the coronavirus has died from it. The World Health Organization confirmed the death of Dr. Li Wenliang today. It says it is still too soon, however, to know if the outbreak is reaching a peak. This as 2 more planes carrying hundreds of Americans evacuating from China are arriving in the U.S. The total number of infections worldwide now tops 28,000. Those infected include a newborn baby in Wuhan, China, diagnosed just 30 hours after birth. The death toll now exceeding 560, almost all of those victims in China. In Jerusalem early this morning, just blocks from the CBN News Bureau, a terrorist rammed his car into a group of soldiers. They injured 12, including some civilians. Later today, Israeli forces killed 2 Palestinians in West Bank clashes and a third in Jerusalem's Old City after he opened fire at a police officer. It's part of a rise in tensions and attacks following President Trump's release of a Middle East peace plan last week. And we are joined now by our CBN News Jerusalem Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. Chris, we're of course concerned for your safety and praying for you and your crew. What can you tell us about the attacks earlier today?
Well, Heather, right now I'm standing where the attack was. It's a place called a train station, just as you mentioned, just a few blocks away from our bureau. and really in the heart of Jerusalem. Right behind me, you can see the train station. It's a real heritage site here. Actually, right now, it's been transformed in the last several years. It's a place where a lot of people go shopping, a lot of restaurants, and it's really a mecca for many people to come here to be entertained. And also, it was here last night about 1:30 in the morning. Thankfully, there weren't too many people around. But as we talked to the Israeli National Police spokesman, it was really an attack of opportunity. There were many soldiers here. It was apparently an Israeli Arab, took the opportunity to ran over many. Thankfully, he was arrested not too long ago.
Chris, it sounds like there has been a steady stream of rockets and mortar rounds coming out of Gaza, which Hamas controls, since the peace plan was released, and Israel has responded with airstrikes. What is the thinking on why this is happening now?
Well, the thinking, I think, Heather, is all related to the peace plan, the release of the peace plan, and the rejectionism of groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad. And not only that, Heather, there's not only these rockets and mortars that are coming in, but also these arson balloons. And they're going not just a few kilometers, but they're going like 25 kilometers. We're talking about 12, 15 miles or so. These are dangerous balloons. They have improvised explosives on them. And that's another thing, another threat to people on the southern border. But all this is, Heather, related to the peace plan that was released last week.
Chris, where do you see all this headed? What's going to happen?
It's a great question, because I got off the phone just a few minutes ago with Mickey Rosenfeld, who is the National Police spokesman. They're wondering, they're making security assessments almost every day right now. The big key right now is tomorrow. It's the day of Muslim prayers. That's typically a day of agitation, sometimes riots. And he was saying it could go from anywhere from no riots at all to a major riot. But they're keeping track of this. But certainly there's been an increase in the last several days, and all pointing right to the to the Trump's peace plan. That would be the reason for it.
Chris, how can we pray for you and the Bureau right now, as well as for Israel?
Well, you can pray like Psalm 91 that says that the Lord would protect us, and not just for us. We certainly want and need that prayer, but also for Israelis here. You see many of the cars here. People are going to and fro all the time. They need prayer. Palestinians need prayer as well. One other point, Heather, I'd make is the incitement by the Palestinian Authority to its people is just dreadful, actually, and actually spurs many of these terror attacks. Pray that this incitement stops and that it won't motivate Palestinians to do these kind of attacks.
All right, Chris Mitchell reporting in Jerusalem. Thank you so much, Chris.
Great to be with you, Heather.
Coming up, how one initiative is hoping to inspire millennial Christians to stay pure in today's dating culture.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening. My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Well, Valentine's Day is approaching, and one movement hopes to encourage young Christians to break free from dating trends in today's culture. Regent University recently hosted the Unhooked Purity in a Pornified World event. Special guests and panelists talked about ways to remain pure in the face of pornography that is more available than ever. And here to tell us more about that event, which will be televised coming up this week, is Ashley Key.
Yeah, hi.
Thanks for telling us about this.
Of course.
What was your inspiration for this event?
Well, last year was the first ever Unhooked series CBN did. So last year we talked about singleness and dating and abstaining from the hookup culture and really unhooking ourselves from the world and hooking ourselves to God's word and living pure, you know, what he really calls all of his kids to do. And so, you know, once we tackled that last year, we were like, okay, well, what are we going to talk about this year? And you can't talk about sexuality and living pure without talking about the issue of pornography today, because 70% of people in the church watch porn. That is a problem.
Well, it's so interesting because it's so accessible. I mean,
Exactly.
even when you don't want something that's popping up on your phone.
Exactly.
So what was the tone? What were some of the ideas that were presented? Some takeaways that people were given?
Yeah, so we had amazing guests who were part of the panel. The panel is going to air next Friday on Valentine's Day. We have Brittany De La Mora, who was actually in the porn industry as a film star for 7 years. So we talked to her. We talked to her husband. We talked to Chaz Smith, who's a really popular YouTuber. He's about, you know, a 20-something-year-old guy who is open and honest about his porn struggle and still, you know, fighting that temptation, because the whole thing with Unhooked is purity is so much more than just sexual purity. That's one aspect. But what we've talked about, the conversation is purity is purity of heart, purity of mind, purity of spirit, and that then leads to physical sexual purity.
What did you pick up, or what surprised you from some of the things that the panelists were talking about?
Man, you know, I was honestly very surprised by Chaz Smith. He was really open and honest. You know, most everyone who we talked to were like, yeah, you know, we had 2 ladies that we spoke to. They were addicted to pornography. That's something, honestly, that surprised me was, you know, a lot of people think that pornography is not just a struggle that guys go through, but it's also for females, too. We struggle with pornography because it's so accessible. But I was really surprised at just their transparency. Chaz, you know, opened up and just said, you know, I still struggle with it. I'm not on the other side, but I'm here to help you guys know that you're not alone, because transparency and accountability is key in overcoming a pornography addiction.
So it sounds like more the focus in terms of prevention is on the front end and where your thoughts are, as opposed to maybe on the back end trying to figure out how to manipulate your phone.
Honestly, it's both. It's both. I mean, we talked about both. We spoke with Jessica Harris, who was a porn addict. She grew up in the church, addicted to pornography, and she really gave some really good advice to parents. You know, I asked her, well, what advice do you have for parents who are finding out that their kids are watching porn, or what advice do you give to parents to prevent that? And she gave some really good tips on that as well. So we do kind of do both things.
All right. Yeah. And any plans for next year? Will this continue on, or that remains to be seen?
I think it's going to continue on. I'm not sure what the topic will be next year, but I mean, we have to continue to talk about these things because it's needed. You know, we have to break free of the taboo topic and just talk about it and be honest.
And we live in a culture where we're being bombarded, even like the Super Bowl halftime show, which everyone was talking about.
Exactly.
So yeah, and details on where people can watch this and when.
Yeah, all they have to do is just go to cbn.com/unhooked starting the 10th, Monday, February 10th. That's where all the content will be. In addition to that, if people want to take their freedom a little bit further, we have a course called Set Free. All you have to do is sign up for that, and that is a really great resource to just encourage you. It's a video online course with the discipleship, community, all of that involved. Just go to cbn.com/unhooked.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is a great ministry. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks.
Okay. Coming up, how one teacher is taking a unique route to inspire kids to read.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
A public school teacher is going the extra mile to make sure her students become good readers. As Charlene Aaron shows us, she is using technology to teach the lessons of learning and life.
Keisha Yearby is a Virginia elementary school teacher and avid reader who wants to share that passion. So when the school day is done, she takes her students and many others on an adventure from behind the screen of her laptop.
You can see the new friend here, which was the owl. What's going on here?
In a culture where many believe social media takes away from interaction, Yearby sees the positive. She uses Facebook to connect her students and kids she doesn't even know to reading, a skill and pathway often ignored in favor of video games and cell phones.
It's so important for them to be reading because reading is going to open up any door, every door.
Each Tuesday evening, she powers up her laptop, logs onto Facebook, and reads bedtime stories to kids, covering the pictures in the books to get students to focus on the words instead.
And I teach them to not just read the book, oh, I'm just reading the words, no, but to visualize, to connect, to really get inside of that, and it would allow you to experience so much more.
Students from across the country are tuning in for the lessons.
I have students watching it, from my student to children as far as California who are chiming in. I've had people that tell me that they have their child that's 2 years old all the way up to 6th graders watching.
Many of her own students are becoming better at reading and beyond.
As a result of watching, better test-taking skills, more understanding of the book, being able to visualize. Like, I have a struggling student in my class right now, and even from having him to visualize when reading, even in math, when I tell him to visualize, trying to figure out like a math equation, he will literally close his eyes and start to make the picture in his head.
Parents are also learning.
I've had parents to say that they're so thankful. Had another parent to say, I didn't know some of the questions that I needed to ask my child. Had another parent to say, I didn't realize how important it was for students to look at the pictures.
In the end, Ms. Yearby hopes her motivation to read will help kids not only in the classroom, but also in life.
Because I put the seeds in them, and I say, each of you has something great on the inside of you, something that you were born to share with the world. And if you don't give it to us, we're going to miss out.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, Jessica Simpson sings her favorite hymn during a recent interview about her new book. We'll show you what happened after this.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Pop star Jessica Simpson has a new book out called Open Book, and she recently did a candid interview with Today's Hoda Kotb. Simpson spoke openly about a past that includes alcoholism and childhood sexual abuse and what brought her peace.
Faith is a theme throughout your book, your life. It always seemed to me that you're the most peaceful when you're singing Amazing Grace.
Yes, yes.
Like there's something that happens to you. Can you sing me a tiny bit?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. It's about walking through fear and it being okay to be afraid. And the other side of fear is what's so beautiful. That's when you get the reward.
And you can find the full story at cbnnews.com. Well, that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. We hope that you'll join us next time. Have a great day.